Good evening. It is Monday, December 16th, and I call the Maple Plain City Council Truth and Taxation Taxation meeting to order. Please stand and join us for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight at our Truth and Taxation meeting, we have a public hearing, and I'm going to start by first turning that over to staff.
Can we adopt the agenda real quick?
Oh, that's probably a really good idea. Looking for a motion to adopt the agenda for the Truth and Taxation meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Cahill,
Second.
second by DeLong. All in favor of adopting the agenda as is?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. First item of business is the Truth and Taxation public hearing, and now I'll turn it over to
All
staff.
right, perfect. I'll give a little spiel. I do have to, I apologize. I'm going to have to stand up and kind of go over there just due to the fact that my laptop's running down. But I'll go through that quickly, and then we'll take any comments. So. All right, so this is the annual Truth and Taxation meeting. Now there are four components that make up your taxes. And we're here to talk about really two of them tonight. You have school districts, you have cities, and you have counties. Those are the three actors that make up your taxes. The fourth, which we're going to talk about a little bit tonight, is also your property value. So if your property value goes up, that has an impact on the taxes that you pay because of the tax rate. So the two aspects that we're going to cover tonight are property values and how have those changed over residential, commercial, industrial, and then apartments. And then also, I'll briefly go over and get into more detail, also the city levy. So, the city levy first, obviously every year for the city council is aware of this, we pass at the end of September a budget, a general fund resolution, and then a levy resolution. What that means is, you have a general fund budget that talks about what are our operating expenditures and what revenues are we bringing in. And then you have your levy, which is how much are we taxing the population of Maple Plain? What number is that? And then that ends up making your tax rate then. So, as you can see here in our resolution, our total tax levy for this year is $1,466,509, which is a 0.045% increase. So I would like to challenge any city in Hennepin County that can beat that number. I feel like that's a really good number. We've done a really good job of being fiscally conservative over the years, and that's a great number right there. The reason for the increase, it's not our general fund. This council has done a tremendous job of focusing and spending money on infrastructure improvements. So we've redone Budd Avenue, we've redone Howard and Independence, and because we redid Howard and Independence in 2018, we had another bond that came on, and that bond coming on to finance that project is why that tax levy is going up by that 0.045%. We've actually kept the general fund budget by 0.026%. So we're doing a really good job in that area. Now let's get into property values, and I apologize, this is not very easy to read, so I will read it out loud. This document that you see up on the screen is talking about residential single-family properties compared to last year. So if we look at Maple Plain, the vast majority of population, or we had number of percent of property by percent of tax change. So 31.81% experienced a 0 to negative 4.9% decrease, and we had 58.63% experienced a 0.1% to a 5% increase. So that makes up the vast majority, and we had a few residential properties that either skewed outside of that for various number of reasons. Ways that your residential home can go up in value. You know, this is an important area to understand. Any type of remodeling that is done. So if you do a remodel project, let's say you want to finish your basement, that can add a tremendous amount of value. Bathrooms is another big one. And Maple Plain this year, actually, I think for the first time in it's gotta be 5-6 years at least, maybe since the mid-2000s, we're gonna hit over 100 building permits this year. So there's been a lot of money spent on either a couple of new homes, but also there's been a lot of remodel projects that have been done in the community that has an impact on your home value. So that's the majority of the population there based off of percent change. Now this goes into the dollar amount change for residential properties. And this is a good number right here. We've got, about 40, just shy, about 35% of people in Maple Plain experienced a decrease. 28.26% experienced either a $0 to $150 decrease on their taxes. 55.5% people experienced a $1 to $150 change. So you can see right there, that's over 75% of the residents in Maple Plain have experienced a very minimal increase of either, $0 to $150 or a decrease from $0 to $150. So, that's a good thing right there. Fairly consistent. Most folks are pretty happy when they see their taxes. Now here's where things get a little bit different. We look at commercial and industrial properties. In Maple Plain, this year, we have experienced a majority of our industrial properties actually saw an increase. Some of this has to do with market rates as well. Again, it's not a city council passage or a budget type of deal, because we just weren't adding a lot to increase, the taxes that you would pay to Maple Plain. But commercial properties historically in the last couple of years went down, and now they're coming back up. So again, that's more of a market thing right now that brings on that value, and that's where it's at right now. The economy is doing well, and then there tends to be higher demand for commercial and industrial properties, and therefore values go up on these buildings as well, and that's what we're seeing here. Lastly, we have apartments. And apartments, I'll be real honest with you, this is I think my 4th year going through this presentation with council. This is a complete wild card. A lot of the times apartments I've seen huge increases and decreases back and forth. Apartments, again, it has a lot to do with the economy and the marketability of our apartments filling up, what the demand is for renting. This year, looking through Maple Plain, it's kind of across the board. We've got one apartment, that apartment building that experienced a 10 to 14% decrease, or 20% area. Otherwise, we've got 3 of them that fall between that 0 to 5%, either increase, decrease. But then we also have 6 of them that saw an increase between 5 and 15%. So they're kind of all over the place. And then believe it or not, we have 2 that are over 20%. So we're all over the map here on apartments. And again, that has a lot to do with the market and how the economy is doing on it. So that's kind of what I have on truth and taxation. Like I said, there's 4 different areas that make up your taxes. You've got the cities, school districts, counties, and then also your property values. And so that kind of gives you a little bit of an understanding of what the valuations have been this last year for the different properties that broke down. With that, be happy to answer any questions, or if anyone has any public comment.
Any questions for staff? Okay, at this time, we'll open it up for public comment. If you have any, please come, state your name and address.
I'm Jeff Marcus, and I have a property at 1275 Maple Plain in the commercial area. It's a small Morton pole barn. I run a landscape company out of it, and my taxes are getting increased by 12%. I think that's a little extreme. Not a little, it's quite a bit. I know that the city of Maple Plain now does not have a dump site, and that was the road that was used in front of my place. So now with that being closed, I'm basically I'm at the end of the road. You guys, City of Independence is on Industrial, I believe, or Poplar. I'm on Poplar, so it must be Industrial. So Industrial tees up where the Maple Plain is, so that road never gets touched by anyone. And I know that now Maple Plain has Larson Landscape doing the plowing. I'm not saying they're not doing a good job because I like them, but I'm like tucked in the far corner, and I can't see how my property taxes have gone up so much. I mean, they're at 7,100, and now it looks like they're gonna go to like $8,000. So for a small company like me, that's a lot of money. I guess my questions, so I guess I just have a couple, like no more dump site, so there's no more maintenance on the road. You guys have that lift stations that's right there in Maple Plain. The semis actually come into my parking lot and use it to back in. And every time they do that, all they do is leave giant ruts with their semis, and then I have to fix it. So that kind of bugs me a little bit. And then I guess you went over it a little bit. You basically saying all prices are going up.
No, not necessarily. It varies. So I guess, just a couple of things. The lift station's not the city's, it's Med Council.
Okay.
Is one. Also, did the valuation of your property go up?
Well, I don't see why it has.
But it did.
I haven't done any improvements to the building.
Sure. And the way we have it set up too with, we have that Hennepin County assessor that evaluates all properties on a 5-year schedule.
Okay.
So they could have evaluated your property.
Someone did evaluate my inside of my building a couple, like maybe 2 years ago.
Okay.
So
So that could
it
be-
actually went down, and now it's going right back up.
And then the other element that, again, affects your taxes is, this truth in taxation. So every layer of the government that I had said, whether it's school districts, cities, and then counties, all three of those levels have truth in taxation public hearings. And so what we do here on this piece is that you can talk about, well, is the city's taxes, are we going up and affecting your property dramatically? And I would say, no, we're not. Just given the percentage of how the levy is working from the city standpoint, it's not the city that's impacting your property here. What I would ask you is that if the valuation of your property went up, that will have the biggest impact on your property, as well as, again, like I'd mentioned before, the market of the sales of properties
Yep.
have a big impact on then valuations of other commercial properties. And I know that right now, with the economy, that is going to be a driving factor for why your property is worth more now.
I understand it might be worth now, but 12% is a ton. And I mean, like on all counts, what are you basing that off of?
Well, it's not the city that valuates your property.
Yep.
It's the county that does
Okay,
that,
so-
our assessors do. I think, for you in this case,
Yep.
the call that you probably want to make is to the assessors. Now, every year we do have a meeting to go over valuations of properties.
Mhm.
And that meeting will take place, usually in April. It happens every year. And
Okay.
so there'll be a meeting there where where Hennepin County is out, and the assessors are present here that talk about the valuation of properties. And that would be the appropriate time to bring it up. I know that at this time, they're not going to be able to adjust any market value of your property at this time of the year. But they will come out, like I said, there'll be a meeting in April where that takes place.
Aren't taxes due in May?
They are. That is
So I
correct.
would make that argument in April and they would adjust it?
Well, they could potentially at that time, yeah.
That's a small window.
Yeah.
Bobby, isn't
Not for that year,
the
but.
Yeah, it would be
border,
No.
next
the
year.
border
It'd be
review in April
2021.
of 2020 is for the
For
valuation
21.
that they do on January 2nd, 2020 for taxes payable in 2021. So they're always
A year.
they're always a year in arrears. So your valuation that you have was based on valuation of January 2nd
Yep.
this year.
That's
Okay.
correct.
That one
So
would not be adjusted.
if the assessor that assessed my building came out 2 years ago and dropped it for a year, and now it's just going right back up, what, is that like a blind eye turned, or, I mean, how does that work?
Well, how
I mean,
they.
the economy is getting stronger, I
Yep.
understand that, but
Yep. No,
12%.
like I said, obviously I'm not an assessor, no one else is here, so I can't speak exactly to why, but I know that what they do is they look at sale of properties that are similar to yours. And that drives part of their valuation process, as well as they had looked at a few years ago, the inside of your property.
Okay.
And that is all determining factors, so.
But what commercial has Maple Plain been selling in the last year out here? Over where I'm at, nothing's been for sale.
Sure, sure. Yeah, like I said, I don't have those in front of me. I get those a little bit later on in the year for that April meeting. I don't have them
Okay.
right now.
So how do I petition the increase in the price? I just have to pay it?
Well, what I would say is that you would have to get in contact with the assessor's office at Hennepin County.
Okay.
That's who I would contact over an evaluation issue.
And just to be clear, that's not gonna change what you have due
No.
in 2020.
Yep.
It will not, unfortunately, but the idea here is that you get ahead of it for 2021.
Mm.
So if you have,
So when the economy takes a dump, they'll probably go down, or
you know, theoretically, that's how it's supposed to work. That is correct.
how it's supposed to work? But it's
The meeting you're looking for is called the Board of Review.
Yeah.
Board of
It's
Equalization.
generally in
yeah.
April. It's a very narrow window from when you get your valuation statement
Yep.
until the Board of Review, 2-3 weeks.
Mhm.
Yeah, Jeff, he'll come in here and sit down, and if you show up,
Uh-huh.
when he did that this year, he set appointments with everybody who came in and had questions.
Yeah.
Then they'll come back out and revalue,
Okay.
so.
All right. So if I was looking for the assessor of Hennepin County, would I just Google that?
I have a card I can
Okay.
give you
Perfect.
after this meeting. We can do that.
All right.
And the phone number's also on your tax form.
Okay.
You could call.
Yep.
For the Hennepin County
Yep.
Government Center?
Mhm.
Yep.
Right underneath that, you could call that number.
All right. I think we're done here. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
luck.
you.
Bill, thank you.
Any other visitors to be heard for Truth in Taxation? Hearing and seeing no other visitors to be heard for the Truth in Taxation public hearing, I'm looking for a motion to close the public hearing.
Before we do that, Mayor, can I make a
Yes.
comment? Is it okay to make a comment?
Absolutely.
I want to thank not only Bobby, but the balance of this city council for, again, it's my third year, and this is the third year we have been sharp with our pencils. Statewide, there's been a 7.5% increase in the city's levies on average. In the counties, it's 4.9%, and the schools, it's 7% statewide. And like you mentioned tonight, we don't have any say over the school. We don't have any say over the county. Matter of fact, the county has passed a 4.7% increase this year on top of a 5.25% last year. I'm not quite sure what the school did this year, but we have stayed flat and level and made this city work. And I applaud all of you and Bobby for making this happen, because it's not the city that is causing people such problems with the dollar amount, the total dollar amount of their tax notice. It's primarily a combination of the county and the school.
Well, and I think one thing to be really proud about from the city that really comes into play here is that if you look at our tax rate, our tax rate when I started here, it's my fourth year going through the budget, so we'll count that, was above 70%, and now we're at around 60%. So we've dropped our tax rate 10% in the last 3.5 years, 4 years now, which is absolutely unheard of.
All while maintaining our services and doing road improvements.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
So I think that's the important thing. We're not just cutting fees and
Exactly.
making sacrifices.
So I think that's really, that's a huge thing that we can take a lot of pride in, that we're able to continue to provide and do these things, and yet we have had an impact on people, whether they know that directly or not, you have. And I think that's something to be proud of. So good job, guys.
Nice work, everyone. Any other comments? With that, then, any visitors to be heard? Did you give me? Okay. With that, then, I am looking for a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Moved by DeLuca,
I'll second that.
second by Fay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The meeting is adjourned at 7:23.
So we're taking